What's poppin', y'all? Welcome back to another episode of NBA Weekly. I'm your host, Pee Wee the Plug, and in today's episode, we have to talk about my boy, Ben Simmons. So over the last few days, there's been some minor reportings about some frustrations that the Brooklyn Nets are having with Ben Simmons. And today, we got an article from Shams in The Athletic that really dives into the details of those frustrations that the coaching staff and players are having with Ben Simmons. Y'all know me to be a very big Ben Simmons fan. I've been that way since LSU, Philadelphia. I was one of the only voices in the media that was kind of taken up for Ben Simmons during that turmoil with the Philadelphia 76ers, specifically after the Atlanta Hawks series. There was a time where everybody was trying to paint this narrative and picture that Ben Simmons was the sole reason for the Philadelphia 76ers coming up short. And I remember being one of the people that was like, hey, I know this sounds crazy because I'm the one Ben Simmons fan left in the world, but to sit up here and paint that picture and narrative that he's the only reason is just false. And so we got past that. We got past him sitting out, the back surgery, the trade to Brooklyn for James Harden, him sitting out then and not coming back in the playoffs. And we start this season with a fresh slate. Brooklyn Nets had a bunch of stuff going on in the offseason that didn't include Ben Simmons. But you add in the Ben Simmons situation, and it looks to be a fresh start for everybody. Kevin Durant is not traded. Kyrie Irving didn't leave or opt out. Steve Nash is still the coach. Sean Marks is there, and Ben Simmons is healthy. And we're going to have a chance to put it all together and potentially do something special where they can bring something positive out of all of this adversity and look like a resilient team. But to start the season, the Brooklyn Nets have kind of been disappointing. They are right now 6-9 as we speak. They're 12th in the Eastern Conference standings outside of the playoffs and the play-in. But as an overall team, when you dive into some of the numbers, the Brooklyn Nets have some things to hang their hats on. So they're 9th in turnovers, which means they protect the ball very, very good. They're right under about 14 turnovers a game as a team. They're number one in blocks. They're really protecting the rim. When it comes to assists, they're above average at 12th in the league. They don't rebound the ball well as a team collectively, but they get to the free throw line. And when they get there, they're one of the top 10 teams as far as converting at the free throw line, shooting as 81% as a team. They shoot well from the two-point strike. Obviously, having Kevin Durant, mid-range specialist, they're right about 55%, which is 9th in the NBA on two-pointers. Defensively, they could have some work, but they have improved under Jacques Vaughn. And that's another thing. They come in. They fire Steve Nash after a 2-5 start. The whole Kyrie debacle happens. Now Kyrie is suspended indefinitely. And you have Kevin Durant trying to do his best to keep this team afloat until everything gets straightened out and they can get back as a full team. Now, where the frustrations with Ben Simmons comes in at, already Ben Simmons this year hasn't been his best version or near his best version of himself or his normal self at all. We just keeping it honest. Like I said, I'm a Ben Simmons fan, but in this video, and like I always do, I'm just being brutally honest and just saying what it is and how it is. And Ben Simmons, when he has played, it has not been good. So the Nets have played 15 games this season. Ben Simmons has only played in 10. That right there, I think, is a problem for the Brooklyn Nets, number one. The fact that they went through him not playing last year at all, didn't come back in the playoffs when it was expected. He had the whole back ordeal. They accepted it. They moved on. He was able to get that addressed in the offseason. Now this season, they were supposed to get full-blown Ben Simmons, who was going to be there night in and night out and help contribute to winning. That's already a thing. 15 games in, you already missed 5 games. Boom. Now we have to talk about the situation that when Ben Simmons is playing and he is available, they're not only not getting all-star, all-NBA version of Ben Simmons, they're getting the worst version we've ever seen, ever, since I've known who Ben Simmons was in high school at Mount Verde. Like, this is literally, no offense, the worst version of Ben Simmons I have ever seen perform and play basketball. This is not the guy that I became a fan of. This is not the guy that I was defending when everybody was trying to pile up on him and speak negative things about his game when I knew he had so much more to offer besides not being a guy who could shoot a jump shot. So when we look at Ben Simmons, he's always been a guy who's 16 points here in his first 4 years, 17 points per game the next year, back to 16, and then the last year he played with Philly, 14, which was a down year. 14 points, 7 assists, and 7 rebounds with all NBA defense and being considered as a defensive player of the year. That was a down season for Ben Simmons. So to go from that to now, Ben Simmons has given us 6 points a game. He's given us 6 rebounds and 6 assists. He's shooting below 50% from the field. This is a guy who does not take jump shots. We know that. That's just not been a part of his game. So for a guy who only shoots around the rim, for him to be shooting 48% is kind of crazy to me. Also, for him to be one of the guys, they have a core of Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, and Ben Simmons is supposed to be that other guy for them, that other all-star face. He's only shooting 5 shots a game. So you have him not being available regularly or enough. And when he has been available, it's like he plays, but he may not play it back-to-back. If you read the injury reports every day when the Nets are playing, it's kind of up in the air with Ben Simmons. There's only been a couple of games where it's like he's definitely out or he's definitely playing. And when he has played, it's like a minutes restriction. He's coming off the bench now. And a part of that is because they do have a new coach in Jacques Vaughn who is staggering Ben Simmons and Nick Claxton minutes and basically playing Ben Simmons as a backup center. Ben Simmons was not brought in and traded for James Harden to play backup center, in case anybody was wondering. But that's part of the first frustration, is the fact that there's not a consistent availability for a guy who they deemed as healthy. This is a guy who didn't play a single game last year or a single minute because of the back that they addressed in the summer, and now there's a new situation with his knee. So now there's that. There's the availability. The second part of the frustration is when you are available, bro, what are you doing? I watched the game last night against the Sacramento Kings, and Van Gundy was in there saying, yo, like, I understand the Brooklyn Nets aren't playing their best basketball because they're getting blown out right now. This is going to be a tough loss. Brooklyn Nets are like down by 30 to the Sacramento Kings. Crazy. But he was saying one of the bright spots is, man, Ben Simmons. He's kind of struggled this year, but he's showing some really good stuff this year. Let me read y'all Ben Simmons' game last night. This is his best game this season. 11 points, right? 11 points on 7 shots. He shot 70% from the field. 7 shots. There's not anybody on this roster who's going to be more of a priority than Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, and then Ben Simmons. They're not prioritizing Nick Claxton over Ben Simmons. They're not prioritizing Joe Harris or Seth Curry over Ben Simmons. They're not prioritizing Royce O'Neal over Ben Simmons. And I say that to say, if Ben Simmons is having a game where he's shooting 70% from the field and he's only taking 7 shots, if Ben Simmons wanted 5 more shots, Ben Simmons would have got 5 more shots. So Ben Simmons only shooting 7 shots and averaging 5 shot attempts a game falls on nobody except Ben Simmons. And for us to sit up here and pretend that this is a great performance to point in a positive direction, to me is crazy as a Ben Simmons fan. This is mind-blowing. This is not the guy I became a fan of when I'm sitting here trying to convince myself that 11 points, 5 rebounds, and 3 assists with 1 steal is a round of applause for Ben. I can't settle for it. I cannot. And I can only imagine how the Brooklyn Nets feel. Because when you look into the article, which I'm going to start getting into now, there's been some things that you can kind of see like, oh, okay, this is how they think and this is how they feel. And one of the things that stood out to me was the fact that the coaching staff and players have been concerned about his availability and level of play, with some questioning his passion for the game, those sources said. But even when he did play, Simmons' struggles in the first 9 games this season were part of the Nets' frustration as well. So like I said, you're not available, and then when you are available, look at your production and performance. And the thing that stands out the most to me, somebody that's a fan, as a basketball player, as somebody that's playing something competitively, not even basketball, it can be a sport. Anytime you're competing, even if it's not competing, it could just be anything that you do that you have a love for, that you have real, genuine love for. You get up and you go to work and you love it. It is so offensive for people to question your passion. To me, that is where it's like, ugh. It says right here, with some questioning his passion for the game. If I'm Ben Simmons and someone is questioning my passion, I have to look in the mirror. As a fan of Ben Simmons, to see people questioning his passion of the game, it makes me question it. Because like I said, You had the mental health situation we were all sensitive to. We all understood. You went through a lot. That was tough. We get it. You're human. We let you have it, Ben. You came back. Your back was messed up. We understand how important the back is to the body, and as a professional athlete in a sport like basketball where there's a lot of just moving, whether it's side to side, up and down, screening, turning, twisting, laying it up, dunking, whatever. There's a lot of them. We understand the importance of a back. We let you have that. Now we come into the season, and now it's a knee. So now it's like, no, nobody's being insensitive to the fact that you could have injuries, but it's like, dog, at what point do you have a certain fight where like your passion just it overburns your injuries? Because this is a part of the NBA. There's always going to be something wrong, man. It's always going to be something that's knacking you. It's always going to be an elbow that's hurting or a strain in the left calf. Everybody's playing through something at the NBA level, especially when you're in a dog hunt to make the playoffs or you're trying to compete for a championship on a team like the Nets who have championship aspirations. That's why they were put together, let alone making the playoffs. For y'all to be 6-9, even without James Harden and the expectations being a little bit lower, is still kind of crazy. You're going to have to play through something. And it seems like anytime there's a convenience for Ben to not play, he doesn't. We even had people question his passion so much, they were saying, hey, Ben may be in foul trouble because he don't want to be on the floor. You know, Ben is only taking 5 shots a game because look at where he scores from. He scores near the rim. There's a lot of action near the rim. You know what happens when you get near the rim? You can potentially get fouled. That's where a lot of the fouls happen. You know what happens when you get fouled? You have to go to the free throw line. A lot of people saying, hey, Ben has struggled at the free throw line. He probably don't want to get there. Ben shot in the last game 2 free throws. In the 3 games he played before that, 0. So in the last 4 games, Ben has shot 2 free throws as a guy who only shoots near the rim. It's really some things to take away from this. And another thing that stood out to me is that after a loss to the Pacers, it says in the article, the Nets had a team player only meeting. And it says everybody could speak freely. And Markieff Morris, a veteran leader of these Nets, spoke up in front of all of his teammates about how they need Ben Simmons to succeed and that he has to respond when he deals with adversity on the court. Those sources all described the meeting where Simmons appeared to take Morris's words in stride and was responsive and attentive throughout. So you have your teammates right here, a veteran, telling you, hey, Ben, this is bigger than you, bro. This is bigger than you. We don't want you to succeed. That's not what we want. Ben, we need you to succeed. In order for the Brooklyn Nets to be what they're trying to be, we need you. We can't have you fouling out and having more fouls than shot attempts. We can't have you not being aggressive because you don't want to get to the free throw line. We can't have you being questionable or on a minutes restriction every time something is wrong or every time you get a feeling in your body where, oh, my shoulder is sore or, oh, I rubbed my pinky the wrong way when I dunked and now. No. We need you. The same way we need Kevin Durant. The same way we need Kyrie Irving. We need you. You have teammates, a veteran, Markieff Morris. The Morris twins don't play games. These are enforcers in the NBA. And they telling you, yo, we need you. And then we have Ben Simmons say, I get the skepticism. But I think the one thing with me is that I'm a competitor. I want to win and play. So I'm going to do what I can do to get out there. And Ben, as a fan, if Ben somehow sees this, as somebody who supported you, right now, if I'm being completely honest, those words that you said in this article does not match with what we've seen. Actions always speak louder than words. And that's the problem that we having with Ben Simmons. The Brooklyn Nets and myself and anybody who's been a Ben Simmons fan or supporter or defender, we're all feeling the same way right now. We're frustrated and we're a little disappointed because you say things like this and you have the J.J. Redick interview before the season where you were saying you're keeping tabs, you can't wait to prove people wrong and everything. So I was hyped. I was ready. I'm like, oh, yeah. Ben got the chip on his shoulder. You know KD pissed off because he ain't get traded and everybody talking shit on Twitter about all of that. No, he got the chip. Kyrie already spoke about the chip on his shoulder and everything. Steve Nash, Sean Martin. The Brooklyn Nets have a team that just everybody should have a chip on their shoulder with a point to prove. I was ecstatic for the Nets to start the season. And nah, they went 2-5. Steve Nash got fired. The Kyrie drama came. Ben Simmons is day to day. When he plays, he's limited with his minutes. Seth Curry is limited with minutes. It's just a circus again. It's all a circus. But with Jacques Vaughn, I will say they've been 4-4, which is 500. The defense has gotten a little better. And it seems like if everything can get on track, and here I go convincing myself again, and maybe convincing some of y'all, but if everything get back on track, this team has some sort of life in them. Kevin Durant, hats off, has been valuable for them. He's been everything that they needed with these young guys, playing with Cam Thomas, Ed Sumner, Royce O'Neal, Nicholas Claxton, Watanabe. Kevin Durant has been leading the charge with those guys, and it seems like the games that I've seen against the Mavericks, even though they lost, games like that against the Knicks, these guys are getting confident out there with KD in some of these performances, which I think is big for them in the long run, because whenever you do get Kyrie back, and if you can get through to Ben Simmons the way that the Nets are trying to with guys like Markieff Morris and the leaders speaking to him saying, we need you, if everything can get on track, you're going to have a team that has confidence in a lot of its role players due to the time where they didn't have Ben or Kyrie, or, Seth was limited in his minutes. Watanabe looks confident when he's on the floor. He looks extremely confident. Royce O'Neal has been confident as a shooter and a guy that's putting the ball on the floor more for them. Edmund Sumner, when Kyrie comes back, he's going to go back to a bench role. He looks confident when he's playing. So I feel like, again, they're still light in the dark for the Nets, but they have to start with Ben Simmons, man. Ben Simmons has to get on this floor, and he has to play like the Ben Simmons that we all want to see. And the last part I have is a quote that says, team officials and teammates have been in regular contact with Simmons about how to make him comfortable. And the reason I'm ending with that quote is to say everybody's here on the same accord. Everybody just wants to see Ben be comfortable, relaxed, and playing his best basketball. There's not a lot of people that's just out here wishing bad on Ben Simmons. Every athlete going to have their naysayers and people that talk down. But Ben Simmons has a full team of supporters who are trying to get him on track because they want to show him how important it is when he is on his shit. If Ben Simmons plays anything like the Ben Simmons we know from the Philadelphia 76ers days, this Brooklyn Nets team is a playoff team easily. They might be playing for home court advantage. If Ben Simmons is giving the Nets 14 points, 7 assists, 7 rebounds, 2 steals a game with Defensive Player of the Year level defense, which was his down year, the last year with the Philadelphia 76ers, this Brooklyn Nets team is in the mix for home court advantage right now. They're like the 4 or 5 seed, maybe 6 at worst. We're not talking about playing. We're not talking about 13th in the Eastern Conference. Not at all. I need Ben Simmons to step it up as a fan and a supporter. The Brooklyn Nets need Ben Simmons to step it up as a player and a big-time contributor. And Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving need Ben Simmons to step it up, because the more he brings to the table, the less pressure it is for them, and they can really get in their bag. Ben Simmons at his best can open up a lot of intricacies for this team. Already been doing so with the handoffs and diving, but if he gets to his full confident self and just unleashes it and stop worrying about whatever's going to happen or what somebody in the media is going to say, this team goes to another level. I'm Pee Wee the Plug. This is NBA Weekly. Anybody that has anything to say and differently or in agreement to what I'm saying, add your 2 cents in the comments. This situation is, I don't know. But I need Ben to be better, and I understand the frustration that the Brooklyn Nets have. And again, I'm going to say it, there's still a chance for both parties. I'm out. Peace.